Hello. Just started, so wait for everybody to come in before I start reading. We're in chapter 9 of A Wrinkle in Time. So, chapter 9, and I was trying to, I'm so behind on uploading my previous chapter readings on my YouTube channel, but I will be doing that tomorrow. Ah! Thank you for the phone, lovely! Or love your fate. Welcome back. Always enjoy seeing your positive messages. Thank you for the phone. Put it over here. Wait, right there we go. Now I can see that, because I can't see the text through the book image. I'm so narrow. I have to get it just right. So we're going to be continuing reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're in chapter 9, and I was trying to upload the previous chapters that I have to catch up on my YouTube channel, and I didn't have time to do that, and I scheduled this for 10:30, and I didn't want to be late. Otherwise I would have done that and then just been late here, but I scheduled it because you can schedule these lives on your TikTok, and in case anybody saw that schedule and was waiting for me when I did it, so I just decided to postpone uploading my previous chapters. So yeah, gonna be reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're in chapter 9, and oh, you are the cutest for reading us all. Aw, I enjoy it. Aw, wait, I don't have my glasses on. Easy, hello. Do I have you? Let me just double check. I feel like I had you, or at least somebody that had a similar name as you. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, you said Tony. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure. Oh, thank you for the follow. Okay, then. All right, I have to look at this closely, so because I don't want glasses on. Easy Rar. Oh, I love that name. So whenever somebody sends me a gift, I write their name on one of the books on my bookmark, and then I keep in the book forever. After I'm done reading it, I get a new bookmark, and I add new people's names, even if they've gifted on the previous book. It's like a new book starts it over. Ah, Little, hello, how are you? So here's your name right there. Little, I think I have Little on the bookmark by now, on this one as well. If not, I will, actually I don't see you on this bookmark. I think it's been a second since I've seen you in the reading live, so I'm going to add your name to it, because I know you were on a previous book. How are you doing? Thank you for the rose. And your name's right there on the bookmark. Nice guy, dear. So again, if you want your name on the bookmark, I add everybody who sends me a gift, like they're doing. Like it's, like Little sent me 10 roses, and Easy sent me some finger hearts. And especially right now, TikTok is having like a competition thing for people who are doing lives. If you send planets or the astronaut, that actually helps me towards my goal on the TikTok competition thing. So all gifts are appreciated. They're not, of course, necessary, but that's just like a little bonus for people. Something kind of nice to kind of show them my thanks for people who do send the gifts. Good, just too much work. I understand that. I'm sorry, got a lot of work though. Hopefully you can get some time to yourself. Aw, thank you for the rose. So nice guy, bad dear. Thank you. Alright, so there's only one spot left on this side of the bookmark, so then I have to flip to the next side after this. Nice. Okay. So your name is right there. Thank you. I need some words of encouragement. I'm about to fail. What's that? Log? What's that? Hey! How are you, Zachros? How are you? I've been drinking my water. It's okay, Minnie was... New gifter. I love it. It has this, like, new gifter even on there. That's cool. Hello, Farango. Hello. Yeah. Anyways, as soon as I figure out what that is, my day was good. I mean, I was in a lot of pain, like really, really, really bad pain all over, and I had to go get a massage, which is never fun to pay for because they're so freaking expensive, but like I only go when it's absolutely necessary, and it was definitely necessary today. I was like in the fetal position. I was in so much pain. So I went there. It helped a lot. I can actually move now. So, and then I came back, got some food, talked on the phone, and now I'm here. So, story time, yes. Yes, how was your day? Oh, thank you, Ship. I was trying to, before I started this live, to upload the last, like, 3 chapters onto my YouTube channel, because I'm behind on uploading those, and I didn't have time. So I'm trying to schedule my lives, the ones that I do, like, I'm trying to do consistently, because you can schedule them on here, and people, I guess, can somehow see them and sign up to be notified when I go live. And which is hard for me to do because, like, technically I would have needed, like, another half an hour to an hour to upload those. So I was going to be, like, late, so I just figured I'd just keep this. I know. I'm trying to. I just took some, natural, like, sleepy time vitamins. So hopefully it'll kick in. So I can try. I'm trying to get, we'll see how it works out, a decent sleep schedule. So, alright. So, oh, you know what? I want to make sure I invite a couple people that were not in here, I don't think. I don't see them in here yet. And I want to make sure that they're in here because they ask me to remind them since the notifications don't always work. Okay, there we go. Sauce, I didn't see where your question was. Sometimes, like, for some reason, I don't know why, people's questions don't go through, I guess. And that's happened on more than one occasion, so if you ask me a question, just, instead of telling me to answer your question, especially because it scrolls up, it's hard to keep track, just ask the question again. Olivia, hello! Yeah, they don't work for a lot of people, and that's why, like, the schedule events that they do, if you sign up, it should notify you, send you a notification. Oh, thank you, Frango. It's right here. I did drink some water today and yesterday. I've been drinking more water. Your guys' dogged encouragement is helping. Feezy, hello! Hello. I'm feeling so much better after the massage. We're on chapter 9. So, again, I was trying to the last few days upload the last few chapters I've been reading to my YouTube channel, and I haven't been able to. I was going to do it tonight, but then I scheduled this one, and I didn't want to be late, in case anybody saw it, and I didn't want to keep anybody waiting. So technically I needed, like, another hour to upload the last few videos to my YouTube and keep it updated. But, so I figured I'll just make sure I do it tomorrow. Chris, thank you for the rose. I'll add your name to here. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not, like, in a fetal position of pain anymore, so, and I can move around. You look refreshed and happy. Ah, thank you, Be Easy. Thank you. It's lovely to see you. Beautiful Maju. 54 ounces. No, but I'm doing better. Lone wolves! Wait. What? You're not lone wolves. I'm so confused. Okay, Chris sent a gift. And Chris, you filled up the last book on my bookmark for people who sent me gifts. That's the last book, I think. And now I can flip to the next page, or the other side. Jaundiced? Hope not. Ah. Wait, Blue Kangaroo or... I'm gonna have to add you to the long book right there. Thank you for the gift. Blue Kangaroo. I still can't fit your whole name in there, so you're just Blue Kangaroo on my bookmark right there. That is still funny. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I promised that I would drink more water. I literally am physically unable to drink 54 ounces in one day, at least as of right now. I need to build up tolerance, you know, like, I promised I would drink more water, and I am. Like, I've been actually drinking a lot more water than I have been ever. So I actually am keeping to the promise. I'm just keeping to the promise as plausible as possible. I'm trying to keep up with all these comments. Haven't even started reading it. Aw. It's too tired. I love that. I'm all... You're showing a movie? I'm reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're on chapter 9. Sorry to confuse. Been watching too much Impact Wrestling using the hotel Wi-Fi in Japan. Wait, what? I'm so confused. So you're in Japan now? I thought you were in Chicago. Or somewhere else. You were stuck in Chicago? Oh, except thank you. I know. I'm trying. Today, sodas, I've only had 2 small cans. I have small cans on their Sprite, which is like the healthier soda. You're in California. Hello, California. Oh, thank you for the follow. Okay, now that I've caught up with the comments and people who have sent me gifts on my bookmark, I shall start reading. Hello. Healthy soda. Color Sprites. The wedding was done. Now trip to Japan for business. Can I be hired during the business trip? I want to go to Japan again. Dude, any excuse to go to Japan, really. Aw, thank you. Hello, Timmy. I love it. I like to do both. I like to go out, and I don't have a preference. I like to do both. Thank you. I need to go buy other. Seriously though, I'm here, Jessie. Hello, Julian. Everything you've been slack. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, we're reading now. We're in chapter 9, and I've been slacking because I haven't uploaded the last 3 chapters now on my YouTube channel, but the first 5 are on there, so at least there's that. So we're in chapter 9 now, and yeah, and if anybody, for those who like to send gifts, specifically the planets and the astronaut right now, because TikTok is having a competition that I can get ranked up and get rewards or something. I don't know. Or just bragging rights, I guess. The more planets and astronauts I get sent. Oh, thanks. Just a bun. Just a bun. Alright, so I'm gonna start reading, and as usual, I'll read the last paragraph of the previous chapter just to kind of get our bearings, and then I'll continue in the current chapter we're in, which is chapter 9, where they meet it. And I'm gonna tilt this so I can see the text better. And then hello Big Rich, how are you? We're just reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're on chapter 9. And then I'll read several paragraphs or so, and then check in on you guys when there's a good stopping point during the chapter. Although this chapter is really busy, so I might not be able to check in as often, but as soon as I find a stopping point, I'll of course always scroll up as much as I can to catch any comments I've missed, or if you want to wait till I do take a break to comment, that's good too. That way I don't have to try to catch up as much. Alright, so gonna try to get this going. Oh, I'm glad. Welcome to reading. We are reading A Wrinkle in Time, Chapter 9, Where They Meet It. I'm comfy and ready to roll. Yeah! Okay, let's get started, shall we? Okay, I think everybody's in here now. Oh yeah, almost forgot my own rule, reading the previous paragraph. That's the little boy we saw this afternoon, Calvin said sharply. The little boy who wasn't bouncing the ball like the others. Charles Wallace giggled again. Yes, every once in a while there's a little trouble with cooperation, but it's easily taken care of. After today, he'll never desire to deviate again. Ah, here we are. He moved rapidly down the corridor and again held up his hand to make the wall transparent. They looked into another small room or cell. In the center of it was a large, round, transparent column, and inside this column was a man. Father, Meg screamed. They found their father. Chapter 9. It. Meg rushed at the man imprisoned in the column, but as she reached what seemed to be the open door, she was hurled back as though she had crashed into a brick wall. Calvin caught her. It's just transparent like glass this time, he told her. We can't go through it. Meg was so sick and dizzy from the impact that she could not answer. For a moment, she was afraid that she would throw up or faint. Charles Wallace laughed again, the laugh that was not his own, and it was this that saved her. For once more, anger overcame her pain and fear. Charles Wallace, her own real, dear Charles Wallace, never laughed at her when she hurt herself. Instead, his arms would go quickly around her neck, and he would press his soft cheek against hers in loving comfort. But the demon Charles Wallace sniggered. She turned away from him and looked again at the man in the column. "Oh, Father," she whispered longingly. But the man in the column did not move to look at her. The horn-rimmed glasses, which always seemed so much a part of him, were gone, and the expression of his eyes were turned inward, as though he were deep in thought. He had grown a beard, and the silky brown was shot with gray. His hair, too, had not been cut. It wasn't just the overlong hair of the man in the snapshot at Cape Canaveral. I remember somebody telling me how to pronounce that. It was pushed back, and I forgot. It was pushed back from his high forehead and fell softly almost to his shoulders, so that he looked like someone in another century, or a shipwrecked sailor. But there was no question, despite the change in him, that he was her father, her own beloved father. "My, he looks a mess, doesn't he?" Charles Wallace said, and sniggered. Meg swung on him with sick rage. "Charles, that's father! Father!" "So what?" Meg turned away from him and held out her arms to the man in the column. "He doesn't see us, Meg," Calvin said gently. "Why? Why?" "I think it's sort of like those little peepholes they have in apartments in the front doors," Calvin explained. "You know, from inside you can look through and see everything, and from outside you can't see anything at all. We can see him, but he can't see us." "Charles," Meg pleaded, "let me in to Father." "Why?" Charles asked placidly. Meg remembered that when they were in the room with the man with red eyes, she had knocked Charles Wallace back into himself when she tackled him and his head cracked the floor. So she hurled herself at him, but before she could reach him, his fist shot out and punched her hard in the stomach. She gasped for breath. Sickly, she turned away from her brother, back to the transparent wall. There was the cell, there was the column with her father inside. Although she could see him, although she was almost close enough to touch him, he seemed farther away than he had been when she had pointed him out to Calvin in the picture on the piano. He stood there quietly, as though frozen in a column of ice, an expression of suffering and endurance on his face that pierced into her heart like an arrow. "You say you want to help, Father?" Charles Wallace's voice came from behind her, with no emotion whatsoever. "Yes, don't you?" Meg demanded, swinging around and glaring at him. "But of course, that is why we are here." Then what do we do? Meg tried to keep the franticness out of her voice, trying to sound as drained of feeling as Charles, but nevertheless ending on a squeak. You must do as I have done, and go into it, Charles said. No. I can see you don't really want to save Father. How will me being a zombie save Father? You will just have to take my word for it, Margaret, came the cold, flat voice from Charles Wallace. It wants you, and it will get you. Don't forget that I, too, am part of it now. You know I wouldn't have done it if it weren't the right thing to do. Calvin, Meg asked in agony, will it really save Father? But Calvin was paying no attention to her. He seemed to be concentrating with all his power on Charles Wallace. He stared into the pale blue that was all that was left of Charles Wallace's eyes. And for thou wast a spirit too delicate to act her earthly and abhorred commands. She did confine thee into a cloven pine, he whispered, and Meg recognized Mrs. Who's words to him. For a moment Charles Wallace seemed to listen. Then he shrugged and turned away. Calvin followed him, trying to keep his eyes focused on Charles's. If you want a witch, Charles, he said, it's the witch, not Our Lady's. Good thing I had the Tempest at school this year, isn't it, Charles? Is that it was the witch who put Ariel in the cloven pine, wasn't it? Charles Wallace's voice seemed to come from a great distance. Stop staring at me. Breathing quickly with excitement, Calvin continued to pin Charles Wallace with his stare. You're like Ariel in the cloven pine, Charles, and I can let you out. Look at me, Charles. Come back to us. Again the shudder went through Charles Wallace. Calvin's intense voice hit at him. Come back, Charles. Come back to us. Again Charles shuddered. And then it was as though an invisible hand had snapped across his chest and knocked him to the ground, and the stare with which Calvin had held him was broken. Charles sat there on the floor of the corridor, whimpering, not a small boy sound, but a fearful animal's noise. Calvin, Meg turned on him, clasping her hands intensely. Try to get to Father. Calvin shook his head. Charles almost came out. I almost did it. He almost came back to us. Ew, sup. We're just reading A Wrinkle in Time. Who am I talking to? I'm just making things up. Good morning, Germany. Give us a legendary smile. Oh, love your face. Thank you for the flowers. Thank you. Of course, Olivia, thank you. Hello. Alright, gonna continue reading. We're in chapter 9. Try Father, Meg said again. How? Your cloven pine thing. Isn't Father imprisoned in a cloven pine even more than Charles? Look at him, in that column there. Get him out, Calvin. Calvin spoke in an exhausted way. Meg, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get in. Meg, they're asking too much of us. Mrs. Who's spectacles, Meg said suddenly. Mrs. Who had told her to use them only as a last resort, and surely that was now. She reached into her pocket, and the spectacles were there. Cool and light and comforting, with trembling fingers she pulled them out. Give me those spectacles. Charles Wallace's voice came in a harsh command, and he scrambled up off the floor and ran at her. She barely had time to snatch off her own glasses and put on Mrs. Who's, and as it was, one earpiece dropped down her cheek, and they barely stayed on her nose. As Charles Wallace lunged at her, she flung herself against the transparent door, and she was through it. She was in the cell with the imprisoning column that held her father. With trembling fingers, she straightened Mrs. Who's glasses and put her own in her pocket. Give them to me, came Charles Wallace's menacing voice, and he was in the cell with her, with Calvin on the outside pounding frantically to get in. Meg kicked at Charles Wallace and ran at the column. She felt as though she were going through something dark and cold, but she was through. "Father," she cried, and she was in his arms. This was the moment for which had been waiting for, not only since Mrs. Witch whisked them off on their journeys, but during the long months and years before, when the letters had stopped coming, when people made remarks about Charles Wallace, when Mrs. Murry showed a rare flash of loneliness or grief. This was the moment that meant that now and forever everything would be all right. As she pressed against her father, all was forgotten except joy. There was only the peace and comfort of leaning against him, the wonder of the protecting circle of his arms, the feeling of complete reassurance and safety that his presence always gave her. Her voice broke on a happy sob. "Oh, Father, oh, Father!" "Meg!" he cried in glad surprise. "Meg, what are you doing here? Where's your mother? Where are the boys?" She looked out of the column, and there was Charles Wallace in the cell, an alien expression distorting his face. She turned back to her father. There was no more time for greeting, for joy, for explanations. "We have to go to Charles Wallace," she said, her words tense. "Quickly." Her father's hands were moving gropingly over her face, and as she felt the touch of his strong, gentle fingers, she realized with the flooding of horror that she could see him, that she could see Charles in the cell and Calvin in the corridor, but her father could not see them, could not see her. She looked at him in panic, but his eyes were the same steady blue that she remembered. She moved her hand brusquely across the line of vision, but he did not blink. "Father," she cried. "Father, can't you see me?" His arms went around her again in a comforting, reassuring gesture. "No, Meg." "But, Father, I can see you." Her voice trailed off. Suddenly she shoved Mrs. Who's glasses down her nose and peered over them, and immediately she was in complete and utter darkness. She snatched them off her face and thrust them on her father. "Here." His fingers closed about the spectacles. "Darling," he said, "I'm afraid your glasses won't help." "But they're Mrs. Who's. They aren't mine," she explained, not realizing that her words would sound like gibberish to him. "Please try them, Father, please." She waited while she felt him fumbling in the dark. "Can you see now?" she asked. "Can you see now, Father?" "Yes," he said. "Yes, the wall is transparent now. How extraordinary! I can almost see their atoms rearranging." His voice had its old, familiar sound of excitement and discovery. It was the way he sounded sometimes when he came home from his laboratory after a good day and began to tell his wife about his work. Then he cried out, "Charles! Charles Wallace!" And then, "Meg, what's happened to him? What's wrong? That is Charles, isn't it?" "It has him, Father," she explained tensely. "He's gone into it, Father. We have to help him." For a long moment, Mr. Murry was silent. The silence was filled with the words he was thinking and would not speak out loud to his daughter. Then he said, "Meg, I'm in prison here. I have been for, Father, these walls. We can go through them. I came through the column to get into you. It was Mrs. Who's glasses." Mr. Murry did not stop to ask who Mrs. Who was. He slapped his hand against the translucent column. "It seemed solid enough. But I got in," Meg repeated. "I'm here. Maybe the glasses help the atoms rearrange. Try it, Father." She waited, breathlessly, and after a moment she realized that she was alone in the column. She put out her hand in the darkness and felt its smooth surface carving about her on all sides. She seemed utterly alone, the silence and darkness impenetrable forever. She fought down panic until she heard her father's voice coming to her very faintly. "I'm coming back in for you, Meg." It was almost a tangible feeling as the atoms of the strange material seemed to depart to let him through to her. In their beach house at Cape Canaveral, there had been a certain curtain between dining and living room made of long strands of rice. It looked like a solid curtain, but she could walk right through it. At first Meg had flinched each time she came up to the curtain, but gradually she got used to it and would go running right through, leaving the long strands of rice swinging behind her. Perhaps the atoms of these walls were arranged in somewhat the same fashion. "Put your arms around my neck, Meg," Mr. Murry said. "Hold on to me tightly. Close your eyes and don't be afraid." He picked her up, and she wrapped her long legs around his waist and clung to his neck. With Mrs. Who's spectacles on, she had felt only a faint darkness and coldness as she moved through the column. Without the glasses, she felt the same awful clamminess she had felt when they tessered through the outer darkness of Camazotz. Whatever the black thing was to which Camazotz had submitted, it was within as well as without the planet. For a moment it seemed that the chill darkness would tear her from her father's arms. She tried to scream, but within that icy horror no sound was possible. Her father's arms tightened about her, and she clung to his neck in a stranglehold. But she was no longer lost in panic. She knew that if her father could not get her through the wall, he would stay with her rather than leave her. She knew that she was safe as long as she was in his arms. Then they were outside. The column rose up in the middle of the room, crystal clear and empty. Meg blinked at the blurred figures of Charles and her father, and wondered why they did not clear. Then she grabbed her own glasses out of her pocket and put them on, and her myopic eyes were able to focus. Charles Wallace was tapping one foot impatiently against the floor. "It is not pleased," he said. "It is not pleased at all." Mr. Murry released Meg and knelt in front of the little boy. "Charles," his voice was tenor. "Charles Wallace, what do you want?" "I'm your father, Charles. Look at me." The pale blue eyes seemed to focus on Mr. Murry's face. "Hi, Pop," came an insolent voice. "That isn't Charles," Meg cried. "Oh, Father, Charles isn't like that. It has him." "Yes," Mr. Murry sounded tired. "I see." He held his arms out. "Charles, come here." Father will make it all right, Meg thought. Everything will be all right now. Charles did not move toward the outstretched arms. He stood a few feet from his father, and he did not look at him. "Look at me," Mr. Murry commanded. "No." Mr. Murry's voice became harsh. "When you speak to me, you will not say no, father, or no, sir." "Come off it, Pop," came the cold voice from Charles Wallace. Charles Wallace, who, outside Camazotz, had been strange, had been different but never rude. "You're the boss around here. You're not the boss around here." Meg could see Calvin pounding again on the glass wall. "Calvin," she called. "He can't hear you," Charles said. He made a horrible face at Calvin, and then he thumbed his nose. "Who's Calvin?" Mr. Murry asked. "He's—" Meg started, but Charles Wallace cut her short. "You'll have to defer your explanations. Let's go." "Go where?" "To it." "No," Mr. Murry said. "You can't take Meg there." "Oh, can't I?" "No, you cannot. You're my son, Charles, and I'm afraid you will have to do as I say." "But he isn't Charles," Meg cried in anguish. Why didn't her father understand? "Charles is nothing like that, Father. You know he's nothing like that." "He was only a baby when I left," Mr. Murry said heavily. "Father, it's it talking through Charles. It isn't Charles. He's bewitched." "Fairy tales again," Charles said. "You know it, Father?" Meg asked. "Yes." "Have you seen it?" asked. "Yes, Meg." Again, his voice sounded exhausted. "Yes, I have." "Oh, NJ, thank you for that rose. Driving home, this is nice. Aw, awesome. Sean, thank you. Yes, so we are reading A Wrinkle in Time. I'm on chapter 9 right now. And the previous chapters up to chapter 5, because I'm behind, are uploaded on my YouTube channel if you want to catch up. Aw, thank you, Franco. I'm here. That's funny. A Wrinkle in Time, yes. I love it. Good night, little. Morty, hi from prison. I don't know if that's a joke or if you're being serious, but that's funny. It's just a funny thing to read randomly. Yes. So I don't typically stream on Twitch on the weekends. My schedule is typically Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I do TikTok lives just kind of randomly. But try to still be consistent. So yeah, I'm streaming tomorrow night. So I am 33. Alright, let's continue. He turned to Charles. You know she wouldn't be able to hold out. Exactly, Charles said. Father, you can't talk to him as though he were Charles. Ask Calvin. Calvin will tell you. Come along, Charles Wallace said. We must go. He held up his hand carelessly and walked out of the cell, and there was nothing for Meg and Mr. Murry to do but to follow him. As they stepped into the corridor, Meg caught at her father's sleeve. Calvin's here, Father. Calvin, here's Father. Calvin turned anxiously toward them. His freckles and his hair stood out brilliantly against his white face. Make your introductions later, Charles Wallace said. It does not like to be kept waiting. He walked down the corridor, his gait seeming to get more jerky with each step. The others followed, walking rapidly to keep up. Does your father know about the Mrs. W's? Calvin asked Meg. There hasn't been time for anything. Everything's awful. Despair settled like a stone in the pit of Meg's stomach. She had been so certain that the moment she found her father, everything would be all right. Everything would be settled. All the problems would be taken out of her hands. She would no longer be responsible for anything. And instead of this happy and expected outcome, they seemed to be encountering all kinds of new troubles. He doesn't understand about Charles, she whispered to Calvin, looking unhappily at her father's back as he walked behind the little boy. Where are we going? Calvin asked. To it, Calvin. I don't want to go. I can't. She stopped. But Charles continued his jerky pace. We can't leave Charles, Calvin said. They wouldn't like it. Who wouldn't? Mrs. Whatsit and Company. But they've betrayed us. They brought us here to this terrible place and abandoned us. Calvin looked at her in surprise. You sit down and give up if you like, he said. I'm sticking with Charles. He ran to keep up with Charles Wallace and Mr. Murry. I didn't mean, Meg started, and pounded after them. Just as she caught up with them, Charles Wallace stopped and raised his hand. And there was the elevator again, its yellow light sinister. Meg felt her stomach jerk as the swift descent began. They were silent until the motion stopped, and silent as they followed Charles Wallace through the long corridors and out into the street. The Central Intelligence Building loomed up, stark and angular, behind them. Do something, Meg implored her father silently. Do something. Help. Save us. They turned a corner, and at the end of the street was a strange, dome-like building. Its walls glowed with the flicker of violet flames. Its silvery roof pulsed with ominous light. The light was neither warm nor cold, but it seemed to reach out and touch them. This, Meg was sure, must be where it was waiting for them. They moved down the street, more slowly now, and as they came closer to the domed building, the violet flickering seemed to reach out, to envelop them, to suck them in. They were inside. Hello. For Wrinkle, stop. Oh, today, happy early birthday. Okay, for anybody new, we are reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're in chapter 9. Meg could feel a rhythmical pulsing. It was a pulsing not only about her, but in her as well, as though the rhythm of her heart and lungs was no longer her own, but was being worked by some outside force. The closest she had come to the feeling before was when she had been practicing artificial respiration with the Girl Scouts, and the leader, an immensely powerful woman, had been working on Meg, intoning out goes the bad air, in comes the good, while her heavy hands pressed, released. Meg gasped, trying to breathe at her own normal rate, but the inexorable beat within and without continued. For a moment she could neither move nor look around to see what was happening to the others. She simply had to stand there, trying to balance herself into the artificial rhythm of her heart and lungs. Her eyes seemed to swim in a sea of red. Then things began to clear, and she could breathe without gasping like a beached fish, and she could look around the great circular domed building. It was completely empty except for the pulse, which seemed so tangible a thing. And around Dias, D-A-I-S, Dias? We're just going to call it Dias. Exactly in the center. Maybe a chair? A chair. On the chair lay what? Meg could not tell, and yet she knew that it was from this that the rhythm came. She stepped forward tentatively. She felt that she was beyond fear now. Dias. Really? Dias? That's it? It's making you smile and feel loved. Aww. Making people smile, I mean. Okay, Dias. Sounds awkward. But thank you for that. Think so? Okay. I'm just gonna call it a chair. Because it's a chair thing, right? It's like a chair type thing. Hello again. Hello. We're reading A Wrinkle in Time. We're in chapter 9. She stepped forward tentatively. She felt that she was beyond fear now. Charles Wallace was no longer Charles Wallace. Her father had been found, but he had not made everything all right. Instead, everything was worse than ever, and her adored father was bearded and thin and white and not omnipotent at all, after all. No matter what happened next, things could be no more terrible or frightening than they already were. Oh, couldn't they? As she continued to step slowly forward, at last she realized what the thing on the chair was. It was a brain. A disembodied brain. An oversized brain just enough larger than normal to be completely revolting and terrifying. A living brain. A brain that pulsed and quivered, that seized and commanded. No wonder the brain was called It. It was the most horrible, the most repellent thing she had ever seen. Far more nauseating than anything she had ever imagined with her conscious mind, or that had ever tormented her in her most terrible nightmares. But as she felt she was beyond fear, so now was she beyond screaming. She looked at Charles Wallace, and he stood there, turned toward It, his jaw hanging slightly loose, and his vacant blue eyes slowly twirled. Oh, yes, things could always be worse. These twirling eyes within Charles Wallace's soft, round face made Meg icy cold inside and out. She looked away from Charles Wallace and at her father. Her father stood there with Mrs. Who's glasses still perched on his nose. Did he remember that he had them on? And he shouted to Calvin, "Don't give in." "I won't. Help Meg," Calvin yelled back. It was absolutely silent within the dome, and yet Meg realized that the only way to speak was to shout with all the power possible. For everywhere she looked, everywhere she turned, was the rhythm, and as it continued to control the systole and diastole of her heart, the intake and outlet of her breath, the red miasma began to creep before her eyes again. And she was afraid that she was going to lose consciousness, and if she did that, she would be completely in the power of It. Mrs. Whatsit had said, "Meg, I give you your faults." What were her greatest faults? Anger, impatience, stubbornness. Yes, it was to her faults that she turned to save herself now. With an immense effort, she tried to breathe against the rhythm of It, but its powers were too strong. Each time she managed to take a breath out of rhythm, an iron hand seemed to squeeze her heart and lungs. Then she remembered that when they had been standing before the man with red eyes, and the man with red eyes had been intoning the multiplication table at them, Charles Wallace had fought against his power by shouting out nursery rhymes, and Calvin the Gettysburg Address. "Georgie porgy, pudding and pie," she yelled. "Kissed the girls and made them cry." That was no good. It was too easy for nursery rhymes to fall into the rhythm of It. She didn't know the Gettysburg Address. How did the Declaration of Independence begin? She had memorized it only that winter, not because she was required to at school, but simply because she liked it. "We hold these truths to be self-evident," she shouted, "that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." As she cried out the words, she felt a mind moving in on her own, felt It seizing, squeezing her brain. Then she realized that Charles Wallace was speaking, or being spoken through by it. That's exactly what we have on Camazotz. Complete equality, everybody exactly alike. For a moment her brain reeled with confusion. Then came a moment of blazing truth. No, she cried triumphantly. Like and equal are not the same thing at all. Good girl, Meg, her father shouted at her. But Charles Wallace continued as though there had been no interruption. In Camazotz all are equal. In Camazotz everybody is the same as everybody else. But he gave her no argument, provided no answer, and she held on to her moment of revelation. Like and equal are two entirely different things. For the moment she had escaped from the power of it. But how? She knew that her own puny little brain was no match for this great, bodiless, pulsing, wreathing mass on the round chair. She shuddered as she looked at it. In the lab at school there was a human brain preserved in formaldehyde, and the seniors preparing for college had to take it out and look at it and study it. Meg had felt that when that day came she would never be able to endure it. But now she thought that if only she had a dissecting knife she would slash at it, cutting ruthlessly through the cerebellum. Words spoke within her, directly this time, not through Charles. Don't you realize that if you destroy me, you also destroy your little brother? If that great brain were cut, were crushed, would every mind under its control in Camazotz die too? Charles Wallace and the man with red eyes, and the man who ran the #1 spelling machine on the second grade level, and all the children playing ball and skipping rope, and all the mothers of all the men and women going in and out of the buildings, was their life completely dependent on it? Were they beyond all possibility of salvation? She felt the brain reach at her again, as she let her stubborn control slip. Red fog glazed her eyes. Faintly she heard her father's voice, though she knew he was shouting at the top of his lungs. The periodic table of elements, Meg, say it. A picture flashed into her mind of winter evenings spent sitting before the open fire and studying with her father. Hydrogen, helium, she started obediently. Keep them in their proper atomic order. What next? She knew it, yes. Lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. She shouted the words at her father, turned away from it. Neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicone, phosphorus. Too rhythmical, her father shouted. What's the square root of 5? For a moment she was able to concentrate. Rack your brains yourself, Meg. Don't let it rack them. The square root of 5 is 2.236, she cried triumphantly. Because 2.236 times 2.236 equals 5. What's the square root of 7? The square root of 7 is... She broke off. She was holding out. It was getting at her, and she couldn't concentrate, not even on math. And soon she, too, would be absorbed in it. She would be in it. Tesser, sir. She heard Calvin's voice through the red darkness. Tesser. She felt her father grab her by the wrist. There was a terrible jerk that seemed to break every bone in her body, then the dark nothing of tessering. If tessering with Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which had been a strange and fearful experience, it was nothing like tessering with her father. After all, Mrs. Which was experienced at it, and Mr. Murry, how did he know anything about it at all? Meg felt that she was being torn apart by a whirlwind. She was lost in an agony of pain that finally dissolved into the darkness of complete unconsciousness. And that's the end of that chapter. That was a crazy one. And it's just beginning. Ah, Big Black! Hello, thank you for the roses. Got to go get some sushi. Ooh, nice. Nice to know Pretty Woman can read. It's a weird comment. I'm pretty sure every pretty woman can read. That at least, has that opportunity to learn how to read. You stay again awake. Zaf, thank you for the rose. I don't remember if I have, I don't think I have you. Yeah, so I think you're new on this bookmark. So, Zafod 1. your name is right there. Thank you for the roses. Thank you, thank you. All right. Well, that's the end of that chapter, and I'm getting tired. So, we're going to end there. And tomorrow, before I stream on Twitch, I promise that I will upload the chapters that I've read so that we're all caught up on my YouTube channel. Sweet dreams. Thanks for everybody for being here. Appreciate you. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, night, or morning, depending on where you're at. All right. Love you guys.